offer to you a little bit of the wickedly divine process for aligning with your twin flame. I did put DM in there. It's easier for me to just think of my DM, and I figure I know most of you are divine feminines, and if you are a DM or you are feel like a hybrid mix in there, something new, you can use this too. Just, you know, replace and apply what feels right for you. So I had an idea for something that I wanted, an interaction with my DM. Now, I just did a video for y'all talking about get specific about what you want. So, this is going to be an example of how to get specific. And I've already thought about it just a little bit because I didn't want to have like a half-hour long video trying to get my thoughts together completely, because that wouldn't be as fun for you. So, I've left it pretty open so that I can show you the process that I've gotten into. I also want to say, one, I've already done this. It already works for me. So, and I got to that place by first recognizing that it would work, that it could work. I had to be really open to that, and that took doing the shadow work and getting to a place of self-love and self-worth and recognition that I am that powerful, that I'm deserving of it, and that I'm not hurting anybody in manifesting this way. And really, what it is you recognize that you're just aligning with your twin in whatever places that you want to align, but you can't do that until you can be specific about what you want. And when we're caught in dark night loops, we are often caught in thinking about the icky stuff, and the way to get out of that, and the way to get to self love, to get to union type stuff, is to spend more time thinking about what you do want and way less time observing what you don't want, right? And on top of that, remember that the universe does not hear contractions. So while you're sitting there saying, I don't want that, or I don't want this, what the universe hears is, I want that, I want this. So you're just, get ahead of things. And when you hear, or you feel like you're like, I don't like this feeling, stop and say, oh, okay, if I don't like this feeling, then what feeling do I like? Like, if I don't like the feeling of feeling ignored, what is it that I do like? Well, I like feeling like I get appropriate levels of attention. I like feeling respected. I like feeling like I'm some level of priority. I like feeling um, affectionate. I like feeling grateful. And that's, and always go back to the grateful place. Like, and then once you get there, you can recognize, oh man, look, I'm grateful for this experience of my DM ghosting me or taking forever to answer me or whatever things. Like, you can get to that neutral place by going, you know what, I'm really grateful because that gave me the opportunity to learn how to adjust my vibration whenever the hell I feel like it. And the more times that happens, the more times I am tested in that way, the stronger I can get in my ability to go, okay, now I just experienced a moment that I wasn't very fond of, and now I can go, okay, now I know the opposite of that. If somebody gives me carrots for dinner and I'm not fond of carrots, I don't have to sit there and go, oh, this is horrible. Why'd they give me carrots? They don't love me. No, I go, oh, they didn't know because they probably love carrots. And that's really adorable. And even though I'm not overly fond of carrots, you know what I do like? I like peas. And I know that they also like peas. So maybe next time I'll just ask, hey, can you throw in some peas? And that way only have a couple of carrots and I get lots of peas and I love peas. And that way we're both having an enjoyable experience. You see what I mean? Like, it starts with learning how to master yourself. Learning how to manifest the feelings that you want in each moment. Because if you get to a space of you're like, I really want my DM to text me or come visit me or do this thing with me, and you don't already have like an arsenal, a library feels much less violent. If you don't have a library in your mind of all these different books of little stories of positive things that you want, that you remember and that you've had happen to go to when you have a low vibe experience, then you're just going to keep going back to those low vibe experiences because you are the being that observes your thoughts. If you don't consciously put new thoughts in there, your brain, which is it's just an organ, it's a thing that we train. I don't know what other better word to put for it. Mind is mind is like a cockatoo. That's the best thing I can think. Mind is like a cockatoo. It never really gets past like the human equivalent of like 4 or 5 years old, maybe 6 or 7 if you're an old soul. It it only has certain operating systems in it. That's why being, that's why soul is in there to add to that, okay? But if you don't put things in it, if you don't put new things in it and release old things, then you're just going to keep repeating the same loops over and over again. So put some new stuff in there. So this is to help you put some new stuff in there. So I was thinking about, like, you know what would be fun to do with my DM? I would love a picnic. Now, if you look in the story of us, one of the very first dates that we ever had was me taking my DM on a picnic. And it's one of his favorite stories of us because he's never had anybody want to court him, want to be corny and romantic with him. Man, my nose is itching, and I know I'm not the only one, and that usually means that somebody's thinking about me, and it's usually my DM. And since I'm talking about him, it's probably a reflection. Anyways, he loves it because of a couple of things. First of all, it was cute and corny romantic. Nobody did that with him. Second of all, I guessed, like, we were so new to meeting each other, I guessed as to what to make. And I thought, you know what? Tuna sandwiches are usually pretty universal. Even people that don't really like seafood tend to like tuna fish sandwiches, so I went with that. And I liked mustard on mine, so I threw a little bit of. I didn't put on as much as I usually do on mine because I didn't know, but I put it on there. And then I put in some lemon pudding, and then I brought little dum dum lollipops, peach lollipops. And what's funny is I didn't know, but lemon was his all-time favorite flavor. And he had a long time story about how he always wanted a lemon cake for his birthday, and his mom almost always got him a regular cake, or it was floral or something. She's kind of getting cakes for her, which I think is adorable. But for him, for a while, that was a thing. It was kind of a trauma, in a way. And he had a lot of siblings too, so I don't know. I'm an only child, but I recognize that having a lot of siblings can displace things, and parents are often overwhelmed and not quite as thoughtful by the time you get to the last kid. Anyways, so he always wanted lemon cake, and this day he got lemon pudding for me. Unexpected. There's no way I could have known that. We hadn't talked enough to do it. Like, we'd hung out a couple of weeks, and we hung out like every day, so I did know a fair amount. But like I said, I didn't know what his favorite foods were. I didn't know what foods he didn't like, and I certainly didn't know, like, the thing about lemon. The other thing was, like, peach was one of his favorite flavors, and he loved lollipops and suckers, but he didn't often have them because they were seen as little kid things, right? And I took us to this little private park that he had shown me that was like hardly anyone knew about. It was a little hidden one, so I knew there wouldn't be a lot of people there, and it was nice. Like, I just, I didn't have an agenda other than I love being romantic, and I really felt really called to him, and something about him and the way that we'd talked, I just knew that he would probably like it. I was still very insecure at the time. I didn't show it so much, but I was, and so I was really nervous. And so anyways, so to digress back to the point of this video, I want to align with him wanting to do that with me. That's the first thing I want to point out. When you're thinking about what you want to do, first of all, recognize that union is harmony. That's what the word means. It means to be in it means to be in union harmoniously, right? And so it's these experiences, like, the more harmonious experiences you have with your DM, the more you have 3D physical union, because you have harmony. You're in harmony with them. So the first place I start is, I'm not manifesting it. I'm not making it happen. I'm not doing this alone. Like, you got to get out of codependency in your thoughts. It's not that you need to make things happen. It's not that you need to wait. It's not that you need to do things. You're co-manifesting this. Like, if you're in a place of disharmony or arguments, not talking, things like that, for the first thing is to recognize that you're qualifying those as disharmony. And you're looking at it in an unharmonious way, and rather than recognizing that actually you're probably in union, even more so when you're not talking. I'll talk about that in another video, but like look for the ways that that's true, that you're actually in harmony even when you're not in 3D harmony. Okay, but what you're looking for is to create more of these experiences, but you got to start with something, right? Now you might start with something smaller than this. This for me, this is an easy one, and I enjoy it, right? I haven't done the picnic yet, but I've done several things like this. This is why I'm so delighted by the idea of the picnic, because I've manifested, or I've aligned with my DM enough times in doing it this way that I know that it works. So I'm like excited. I'm like, we're gonna have a picnic, you know. Uh, but what I was thinking about is a couple of things. First of all, my mind goes to, oh, I remember a time in the past when I would not have been able to even fathom the idea of this, where I'd be like, but he's wrapped up with third parties, and what will that mean, and what will family think, and what will others think, and do I tell people on my channel? Do I keep it to myself? What if I tell people and then someone sabotages it? What if I do this? What if I do that? Right? And my mind was more like, well, and I have to think about the bills, and I'm losing rent, and I'm doing this, and all, you know what I mean? Like all that shadow work was laying on top of my ability to even feel good about thinking about the idea of having a picnic with my DM, right? And then I was stuck in this place of observing, well, he's not that healed yet, and he might say this, or it might get taken the wrong way, or I might get blamed that even though I just want to have a genuinely fun moment of experience with him, that maybe that it's my fault, or if if this thing happens with so and so, that it'll come back to me in a negative way. I had to get all that stuff. I had to release all that stuff, and now that that's out of there, I can just enjoy this, like, yay, I'm gonna have a picnic. I'm gonna align with my DM. We're gonna have a picnic, and it's gonna be a picnic that he plans, and I love that, right? And in the past, I wouldn't have put him in a space where, like, he's very intellectual, though with all the trauma and shadow work that he had going on with him, I would not have pictured him as being able to allow himself to do something that old him would have thought of as vulnerable. That's another tip in there. Start updating your vocabulary in terms of like all the stuff that you're worried that they might repeat. That's old them stuff. That's old timeline them. That's old realities of them. It's old versions of them. Get that correct in your mind, and also do that with yourself. The way that you panicked before and made something worse than it needed to be, that's old you stuff. The you that couldn't fathom this sort of thing being possible, especially very quickly, old versions of you, right? Leave those in the old timelines. Let yourself fully come into new timelines where all of this stuff is not just possible, it's fun, it's easy, it's too easy, right? And of the moments that it doesn't happen, don't take life that seriously, because you'll get more of them then. Because that's the other thing. When you start practicing this, you still have some of the old you momentum and the old them momentum. Your job is to continue to walk your path as the new you, as the new version of you, who's going to continue to evolve and continue becoming even newer versions of you, and to continue releasing older versions of you. And your twin is already doing the same thing. They've already been doing the same thing. Get it correct. Up level your thoughts, right? Okay, so now this picnic, right? So I'm imagining this picnic, and I'm actually sitting in a park that I'm going to do a review on my TikTok for, right? So I'm looking at this park, and this park would be perfect. And I was thinking about this picnic idea when I was thinking about where do I want to go to do some of my content creation today, and which park do I want to review, because I've done some on TikTok. And it was on the way that I had this thought about, what do I want to manifest today? And then, I thought about my DM, and I was like, you know what? I haven't thought about, like, I've been enjoying doing other things that I genuinely have not been in a place of trying to align with him to do stuff. Like, I've just been enjoying me stuff, like making new friends, releasing new friends, doing different things, learning more astrology stuff, talking to y'all, sharing stuff with y'all. Like I've been, it's amazing to me to look back, at this point and say, wow, I just had like a whole, like I've had like at least half a season of just like enjoying me stuff and not being like obsessively focused on the timing of things with my DM. I still think about him a lot. I still talk about him a lot, but I wasn't in a place of like, when are we going to see each other? And it's been so long and he's so busy at work. And those were the places where I was. Like when I get in and kind of make fun of us with that, it's because I was there. I'm like firsthand experience of being that person. Okay. But now I'm in a place, now I was in a place when I was driving here and I was like, I haven't done this in a while. Let's see what happens, right? And then I got here and I was like, actually, this would be a nice little picnic park. There's not a lot of people here. The road by it isn't too loud or overly busy. Now that school's in session, there's not so many people around, and it's already a quiet park. It's just a little hikers park. It's not one that most people even know about. And that, it's funny because like then I got into telling y'all the story about the first picnic, right? So this is what I mean about look at the process. I allowed spirit to inspire me on where to go, right? I was just like, I want to work on my content today. I want to put out some more videos for you guys on YouTube, put out some more on TikTok. Where do I want to go? Where can I feel the most inner peace to go and do that, right? And then along the way, I was already feeling good about that aspect of just doing something that I love doing, right? And when I got there, like, because spirit says, go to that one park. Go to that one park. It'll be nice there and you can do a review if you want, right? That's what I mean. Like your intuition, your intuition and your instincts are different. Your intuition is like, go over here, it'll feel nice. Your instincts like, don't do that, you'll get hurt, right? So, or, your intuition, your divine guidance is going to be like, hey, go here, that'll feel nice, right? So that's the first part in the thought process. Then I get here and I've already had the thought about, oh yeah, you know what? That'd be fun. Let's manifest a picnic with my DM. And I'm already not attached to it. Like, I'm already feeling excited. I'm giving myself all the feelings of it already happening. And I don't care if it doesn't happen. At least what I should say is I don't care if it doesn't happen, but I don't care about when it happens. Feels like somebody needs to hear that. I don't care about when it happens. Like this could happen later today. This could happen later in the week. This could happen months from now. This could happen when we're like, oh man, when I'm like 65. Or let's say 64 for the Beatles song. So, this could happen when I'm 64 and like he puts it together and then I'm gonna like remember that I had this video and I'll come on if YouTube is still around and share it and be like, see, ha, told you. Anyways, I know it'll happen faster than that because I'm not attached to when it happens and I can delight in the feeling of whether it happens today or when I'm 64. And I'm 35 right now, so there'd be a little bit of time distance in there, but I can already feel the future me in that 64-year-old moment and experience those feelings right now because time is not linear and we are always all of us. Like we that's the soul part of us. So you can access that anytime you want and you can give yourself permission to feel the feels right now. That's part of why I used that song in the cover picture. That song came up last night, Permission by Ro James, which might also be a message for some of y'all. I don't know. Look at it. In any case, so then I get here, right? And I was actually thinking to do some videos about astrology and about what's going on, about different signs and things like that. And then I sat here thinking about, look at me. I'm imagining we're going to have a picnic. And I was going through the details in my head of like, how would I describe this to another person, this process? And I got into the details and I got to thinking about what kind of cloth would my DM bring? What pattern would it be? Would it be, there's lots of things it could be. And I want you to pay attention to this because one, I'm open to all options and outcomes. And two, I'm having fun in the birthplace of creation, imagination, right? So my first thought is, my DM, if it was just him, dry and logical, he would probably go to the dollar store or Walmart and buy whatever was labeled a picnic blanket. Like he's Virgo Mars, and you know what? He's adorable like that. There's a lot of basic qualities about that, and I love that about him because I am very complicated, and I love that about me. It's it's yin yang, it's polar opposites. It's nice. So if it was just him, he would probably go do that. He might do that in this moment, like because he is embracing that stuff about him. He's learning to love that stuff about him, right? So there's an option. He might just go get a brand new one. And in that case, it would probably smell like it'd probably be one of those weird ones that has the smooth ish rough texture on the top and that checkered almost flannel kind of thing, and then on the bottom has that weird white felt sort of feeling. You know what I'm talking about, almost like a cheap tablecloth cover, because I think that's what they would sell. I don't know, I'm imagining it, right? But I'm really imagining like what it would look like. It would probably be, if there's green, it would definitely be green because green is his favorite color. But he also knows that I like red, so and a lot of them can be red, so he might get red, or blue might be the only color available. So, but then I've got a couple of options of how he might do it, how my DM might decide to pick out a picnic cloth for us to sit on and have our food and stuff on if he's embracing the adorableness of his basicness in a personality. He's actually not a basic person, but he likes the basic things. He likes a basic polo shirt with a couple of buttons. He likes, basic colors. He likes having things match, and I love that. I love that. Um, so, but there's some options, right? Like if he's embracing himself and he knows that I find it so delicious when he embraces himself, and that I will probably say something about that. But like, I love that you just went with this, that you didn't overdo it, because in the past he's had challenges with trying too hard to impress somebody else and trying to shape himself to be exactly what he feels like needs to be perfect for them, rather than just being himself and trusting that he will be loved for being himself. Now he's been learning a lot of this, and he's been showing me he's been learning a lot of this, and I absolutely love that. So I know that he could be in this place to where, I could see him going through the store and being like, you know what? Oh man, I'm catching myself in old, like, fearful avoidant attachment style, an old codependent style, an old low self-esteem style, thinking that I have to be perfect, that I have to get some out loud, neurodivergent, super meaningful picnic cloth, and that I don't have to, because what's something that my DF says a lot? I ain't taking life that seriously. And what's something else she says is love yourself. And what's something else she always tells me? That she loves it when I embrace who I am and who I want to be. And so he might go through that store. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it on purpose, rather than picking the thing labeled picnic cloth because I'm anxious and I panicked and I don't know what to do when I panic. I'm gonna do it on purpose. And then I'm gonna tell her later when we're having a picnic how I did have a little panic moment, and then I found it adorable about myself, and then I heard her voice in my head and said, just get whatever you feel called to get. It's okay if it's basic. It's okay to be basic. It's okay if you panic and you grab some crazy cloth that is nothing that either one of us would like, and you just bring it because you brought that story. So there's another potential outcome, because a lot of times we get this advice, be open to all outcomes, right? And this is just an example of in one experience, but you can apply that in terms of when you're thinking about what does union look like for you, right? So here's another option. Maybe he does panic and he gets a weird ass tablecloth and he doesn't even look at it, and then he gets, like, 'cause this stuff that he's done, and then he gets into an anxious state about, oh my gosh, it's not perfect, I didn't even look at it, I have no idea what it is, and but then I know him. I know that he's heard spirit enough, and he's been working on self-love enough, that even at that point he would stop and go, but you know what? This is what my divine feminine loves about me. She's always told me this is adorable. And then, like, I've told him, like, he would probably feel happier navigating the world if he wasn't so anxious all the time, but I don't need him to change that. I find it adorable either way. So he's going to remember that voice in there and then bring the picnic cloth. And then when he's like unpacking, let's say a plastic bag or a paper bag, because he didn't think about what it's all going to go in, or maybe couldn't find a picnic basket or something. And then I can imagine that process too. So I can imagine now, say we're sitting on, okay, I'm going to throw out a couple more options. One could be a bed sheet, which is an old, it's a, look in the Story of Us stuff, it's in there. So it could be a bed sheet or a shower curtain or something weird. He knows that that would make me laugh and that it would be relevant to the Story of Us. So there's some options, right? So let's say, though, that we, he says, meet me at a park. Just for fun. Or he gives me an address. Meet me here, which is something I used to do with him too, is meet me at this address. And then it'd be a surprise, like it'd be a hotel or something like that. But let's say he says, meet me at this address, and it's a park. And I'm going to say it's probably a park that I know because I like to be in nature. So I probably know the parks, and I've been reviewing the parks, and he knows I like to do that. So then let's say that he had picked this park based on watching my TikToks about parks and paying attention to what I've told him just in text and in person about what I love about each park, which, by the way, I know he's been doing because he already started telling me about some of his favorite parks over the summer, and that was not a thing that he had done before, which I loved because that was a pleasantly surprising sign of growth and healing that I hadn't imagined, right? And so that came from his birthplace of creation, and I love that, right? So let's say that he says, go to this address, and he knows that I'm going to know what the park is, and he knows at that point that I'm likely going to know what's going on, and he probably also knows at that point that I probably asked to align with this specifically already, and that if he was thinking about it, I was thinking about it. And so, he's already in a space of feeling more comfortable, but also feeling a little bit freaked out by the magic of it, because that's the adorable way that he is, and I like that, and I don't want him to change that. I will grow with him if he decides he wants to release that, but I have no attachment to leaving that or not. So then let's say we get here, or I get here, and he's here early. That would be fun. And he's laid out the picnic blanket, and he's got a paper grocery bag that's full of the other picnic items, and he's chilling there. And he's got one of my favorite beverages and probably some of my favorite chocolates out, because he used to love to bring me. I loved it. He was not he formerly my old DM versions were not fantastic at being romantic, not because he doesn't know how to do it, but because he gets wrapped up in the commitment of it, the vulnerability, stuff like that, or because he did, right? So let's say, but one of the things that he really liked to do was like in the morning he'd bring me an energy drink and some chocolate, or when he'd come home he'd bring me some, because he knew, I liked that, and I liked the little things. I always told him that. So let's say, in homage to that, he does that again. And so I pull up, and I can see him sitting on the picnic thing, maybe crisscross applesauce, maybe laying to the side and pretending to be boudoir about it or something like that, because he can be a bit cocky at times and sassy, and I love it. And let's say that he's waiting there. He's already ready, and he's like pretending not to be excited that I'm there. Maybe he's doing something that I really wouldn't expect, which would be like maybe he has a book and he's reading the book. Because otherwise, like and I'm okay with the expectation, but he could be looking at his phone, or he could be standing against a wall smoking and being nervous. But what would be delightful and what would be interesting, and he knows this, and he likes being this kind of person when he feels brave enough, is to do something that's so out of character but is meaningful towards stuff that we've done. And he loves to mirror stuff that I have done, but then it's kind of a natural competitiveness between us to kind of one up it in an adorable way. So let's say he's laying there and all demure, and he's got a paperback book. Now, this man did not, like, when when I met him, and then through 20 years of it, I'd never ever seen him like read a book. Like, he had some books that were like about Jimi Hendrix and music and stuff like that. He liked some historical stuff, and he would go through like mechanical books and things like that, but he never just read fiction just for the joy of it. And he actually did it for me about the year before Separation Mission started, and he loved it. I had him pick a book himself. I suggested a category, romantic comedy, because that was the kind of movies and things like that that he wanted. And this was a part of a DS challenge that we'd had that I'd like, because as a Dom, I look at like helping with growth, right? And I said, I want you to try it. If you hate it, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it again, but I want you to try it. So he did, and he got an ebook that was a romantic comedy, and he loved it, right? And he meant to do more. In fact, until he had to go backwards, forwards to deal with some karma stuff, he was already getting into it, and he even got into writing. Okay, so I could see him taking that now because I'm seeing the evidence of his growth, his healing, of the new versions of him coming out. I want to point that out. Look for the evidence. You're not making shit up. I don't tell people to make shit up. I just want you to plant your reality flags in things that feel good. It's not that complicated, right? And you're going to manifest more of the feel good stuff when they have your focus, much more than, I mean, you already have the evidence. The more you focus on the stuff that doesn't feel good, you get more of it. It's very simple math. Like 1 + 1 = 2, it's very simple. In any case, so let's say that I see him on the picnic table. Wow, I don't know where that popped in. Accepted it, and like, yes, Daddy, if you want to be if you want to be on a picnic table. But what I'm gonna say is, let's say he's there. He's being demure. He's being playful. He's got a book. He's pretending he doesn't notice his divine feminine coming over. And of course, I would have put on something fun, not too, like I'm yours, but definitely that it. Like, that I am. But I'm going to play the game too because we like playing the game. We like being theatrical. He's got some fun Leo placements. I have some fun Scorpio placements, and I'm a Capricorn. We like being theatrical, right? So then let's say that I get to go and sit down, and already I know what the first thing is that we're going to talk about. It's not going to be it's not going to be confessions and union talk and all this stuff. No, you know what it's going to be? He's going to tell me the story of how he thought about putting the picnic together. And he's going to tell me the story of overcoming his nerves and facing his fears about being, either being romantic, or it could be about setting up a platonic picnic with a friend that he appreciates. It could be about the thoughts that he was going through as the third party stuff continues to end, and that it was this getting an opportunity to plan a picnic with a friend and not have anyone on the other end who was offended by that, not having to worry about who might think what about it, and knowing without a doubt that I was going to enjoy the moment for the moment, that I was not going to try to rush him into the next thing, that I wasn't going to sit there and harp on him about all the old things, that I am the person in his life who would just be so freaking delighted that he would think to do that he would want to do that, and that he would know me, because I know my self-worth, and I know that I'm that amazing, okay? I'm amazing in that I would not be attached to that anymore in the ways that I would. Now, in the past, if he would have done that and then, like, say, got pulled back into third party stuff, or still had some things to clean up, or like dropped into a low mood, that would have just floored me. It would have shattered me. It did a couple of times, right? But now, and he's seen this consistently, and I know it consistently, so I can hold that reality flag even when he's not able to, because he's a Cancer, so sometimes his realities change as often as the moon does, but I can hold that. I know that whenever he's ready, whenever he whenever he's ready, I don't know what other way to say it, he's going to go, you know what do I want to do? What would feel really, really satisfying to me, and what person could I do it with? And he would think, I would like to do a picnic. And he'll think, I remember the picnic with my DF. And then he'll probably have some thoughts about, oh, but she might want more right away. She might get really attached or really hurt if I'm not ready for more after that. But then this is new him, so he's going to go, no, those are old me thoughts. No, I'm not going to, because I know that she's grown. She's shown it to me. I've even tried to get her to prove that she didn't change, and she's just grown even more. And I know that she's immensely psychic, and she knows my patterns, and that she's gonna know probably before I do whether or not I'm going to be consistent after that or let it go. And I see that she loves me no matter what, and The only thing she's attached to is getting to enjoy some time in a rocking chair when we're 90, drinking some lemonade and laughing about things. So I don't have to put all those pressures on used to put on myself. And and for me, like, I can give myself those feel good feelings. I can have that self-love and that self-worth and know that those things are all true, whether or not he actually comes and affirms that, whether or not anyone else agrees with me, because self-love is not dependent on what anyone else does. And that's the other thing is, I know that my demon, he's already, he loves the way that I love him, and this is one of the things that he meant, was that with everyone else in his life, their love for him is dependent on a transactional type thing. It's either emotional transactions or physical transactions. And unfortunately, most of the world is this way. Simply because we have a lack of awareness about it. And then when we have awareness of it, then it's like, well, how do you change that? Because a lot of people, it like love is sharing finances because it feels harder to do it independently, or it feels like you'll be looked at funny if you don't have relationship. Love is fighting with each other and never giving up and always accepting the worst bullshit from each other. You know what I mean? Like, love is confusing in those ways, and it's usually not unconditional. And when it's not unconditional in a healthy way. Like it'll be that sort of like, you can do whatever you want to me and I'll still love you, I'll never leave you. But that's not actually healthy unconditional love. That's codependency. And so, like for him, he's used to that experience, but what he's not been used to, and even it's funny, even after 20 years, he still say he's still not quite used to it, is having somebody for whom, like, he could tell me the worst things in the world, and that might indicate to me that maybe we need some space from each other because he's being a jerk. But it doesn't change how I feel about him, largely because it doesn't change how I feel about me. Right? And I've been through enough of when it did change that, when I was easily manipulated, even not just by him, but by anybody, because my self-worth and my emotions, I was like, they changed all around because other people doing things. Like, if that person did what I wanted, I gave myself feel good feelings. If that person didn't do what I wanted, or they said something that made me feel like I was supposed to feel bad about myself, then I did. See what I mean? But now those don't change. He could tell me anything he wants. He could tell me right now, oh, you know what, I'm so happy and I'm moving to the Bahamas and I really don't want to have anything more to do with you. And you know what my thought would be is, I'm really glad that you're happy and that you've decided what you want in this moment. And in my head, I'd be like, I also know that you change your mind a lot and a lot of different experiences happen, and that these little moments where you're happy and you're imagining that are great. And I have total compersion for that, whether it's with me or with someone else. And I also feel really, really good that you feel like I'm the kind of person that you could say, I don't want more than platonic stuff, or I want some space from you altogether, because a lot of people aren't clear with you about that. And so I would actually appreciate him and be grateful that he felt like I was a safe person to say that with, and knowing that I'm not going to get hurt on it and not be in a really bad place about it anymore, right? And then I would also be in a place of recognizing that I can align with a different timeline version of him. They're all him. It's all the same soul, right? So if I line up with a timeline version of him where he's saying that he's totally happy with a third party and stuff like that, I'm not going to let that change my affirmations of what I know is true. I know that magic exists. I know how to walk between timelines. I know that the planets are aligning and creating portals right now that we don't normally see, so things speed up, switch and merge and die and are reborn so much faster than they normally do. I don't have to get locked in this reality of, if I line up with a timeline version of him where he's totally happy. And I also don't have to imagine something bad happening to that happiness and that union, just so that I can also have what I want. No, I simply love that, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm happy to work out the shadow work that comes along with that. Now I'm going to align with a timeline version of him that then says, you know what, like, he has a great experience, that he wants to release that and come and have even more beautiful experiences with me, and one where the third parties that he was with also have happy endings, right? because these timelines already exist. Like, some of them are created in our birthplace of creation, our imagination, but most of them already existed. It's just which one do you want to line up with? Okay? So I'm just lining up with the one where there are no third parties anymore, where that got healed, where that stays a part of our story because it makes it delicious right now, but that even when it's beautiful, that for him it still doesn't compare to anything like what he knows that he had with me and can have with me, because I deserve that and I'm amazing and it's fun to manifest it, and then even more fun to get on and come and do videos about it after I've already done it however many times and got some vocabulary for it to be able to explain it in at least a reasonably eloquent manner, right? So think about that. Like, I just went from where am I going to go? Where can I find inner peace to do my content creation today into manifest or aligning with a picnic that my DM puts together, where I already know some of the things we're gonna talk about that are joyful. I'm not worried about any moments where we might go into some deeper conversations. I'm not attached to where it's gonna go after that. I can see the different colors and textures and potential patterns of the picnic uh, cloth and the bag that he'll put it in, the potential food that he might put in there, and I know some of the things, the memories he might talk about. I know many of the loving things that he's likely to tell me, both about himself and about me. I know that when I align with this, it's not going to be him coming to me saying, oh no, everything was horrible and I just ended it because it was a horrible situation, which, I mean, I'm okay if that happens, though. I'm not the kind of person that wants to like, it doesn't make my ego feel big for bad things to happen to somebody else. So if it goes that way, okay, I'm accepting of that. Things like that happen, and I know that not all negative experiences are negative. Like, they can lead to healing. Okay, so I'm more focused though on the infinite timelines where it was like, no, you know what, it was just mutual, and like where he's able to be honest. Like, I can imagine all these different ways he could be honest even and say, look, I really appreciate that. I know that you're not going to be overly attached to this, which it would be fine if you were, because I would be. And that's what I'm amazed about with you, that you can be both things. I know you really want it. I know that you deserve better. I know that you're a queen and that you don't have to sit here and put up with my bullshit. But I also know that for whatever reason, you love me that much. And that's telling me that maybe I need to look at myself and love myself more. Because if you think that I'm that worthy of this time, attention, mischief, and things like that, that maybe I really am. Which, conversations like that have already been happening between me and him, both in 3D and in 5D. So I can already feel that as a really potentially great outcome. Now here's the trick. Okay? Once I get to that point to where I've imagined some details, I've already affirmed my self love, I've affirmed that he's loving himself, I've seen the patterns of evidence, of truth, of things that have really happened, I've decided what timeline I want to be in, I've chosen that, I've reaffirmed that I'm not seeking to be satisfied from taking power from anyone or having any power. I've already had a positive self talk with myself about, what if this doesn't go right into union? And later I would have a conversation about what if it does, because that one might freak me out a little bit more just from expecting it to not be there yet. But I've already gone to these places and gone, I don't need to prepare, because I'm always prepared wherever I am. I'm always connected to spirit. I know the difference between my ego, my intuition, my instincts, my conditioning, my trauma, and my soul, my conscious being. I know the differences, so I know how to sit quietly and observe things. I don't have to rush them. I don't have to be attached to the outcome. And if something comes in that I don't expect, I already know that I've worked on my vibration enough that it's always going to be a pleasantly surprising experience. Because a lot of people say, I hate surprises, which, if you do that, correct that. No, you don't hate surprises. You just don't like bad surprises, right? But there's pleasant surprises all the time. So just focus on manifesting more pleasant surprises and stop telling the story that you don't like surprises, because you're just going to manifest more surprises you don't like in that way anyway. So I already know it's going to be pleasantly surprising, and that if something happens that maybe he says something inappropriate or I say something inappropriate, it's not going to be the end of the picnic, and it's certainly not going to be the end of the journey. And even if we end up, say, getting into some argument or some fight, and there's like another small cycle of stuff, I know that that's just old momentum. I know that that's just old fear. It's old trauma stuff. It was likely him saying something that caught me off guard for a minute. I just wasn't expecting it, and my old conditioning came out. But I know that it's because I don't sit on that stuff and I don't dwell on it anymore, that it'll go away very quickly, because most of the old momentum is already gone. Like most of the blockages that we had in communication and stuff are already gone. The rest of it is just self affirmation, self acknowledgement, self trust, things like that, and being able to stand in your power without having to take power or be like, I'm powerful, powerful. I don't know. So I've already gone through all that, and now that I'm near the end of it, and then we're almost at 50 minutes, I meant for this to be like a 10-minute video, but you're welcome. When I get to the end of the picnic and imagining it, and I can let myself go on in this for as long as I want. As you can see, I've retrained my ego to help me, to help me align with where I want to go, right? That's part of why you don't want to make ego the bad guy. Ego's not the bad guy. Ego is just a cockatoo. It learns what you teach it. It says what you talk about most consistently. It wants to play with you too. And you can't sever the ego, not without going back to source. You will always have it. It's just, is your ego running amok and running on trauma and conditioning that you didn't pick? At least not in this lifetime. Like, you picked it before you came into this lifetime, but like consciously as this being right now, you didn't pick what was conditioned in there. You came into this lifetime to learn how to do that, right? So my ego helps with that. I let it go for as long as it feels like is fun. I don't beat myself up if I spend 5 minutes doing it or an hour doing it or whatever. And because I don't beat myself up about that, I actually do it a lot less often. I don't need to. Like, the feelings, I can carry it on, all right? So then, once I felt good about that, I might make a small note in my journal or in my phone and say, had a beautiful vision of a picnic with my love, right? And then I go back to work. And then I think about what I want to do for work. And then when my focus is on other things, like when I'm thinking about doing an astrology video, or when I'm thinking about doing a reading with you, or when I'm thinking about my next appointment with my coaching client, right? I get these little downloads that are like, oh yeah, you know what? He probably would do tuna and mustard, just to be very specific. In fact, he might decide to copy like piece by piece exactly how I did that picnic, just to be adorable in that way. And maybe we'll have a conversation about that, to where he'll be like, you know what? I was going to try to do it different, because I know you used to get on me about always going with the safest option. Which he did. And I did get on him about that. And he might tell me. And so I thought about, I was going to do variety. I was going to do this bright orange sheet. And I was going to bring you like a weird sub sandwich from a Mediterranean shop, and weird beverages that we've never seen. But you know what? I realized that wasn't me. That I like doing things for you, and I like trying new things, but I also realize that what I like the most is you feeling proud of me and me feeling proud of me. And I know that what you like much more than me trying to be the perfect thing that you want is me loving myself. And so I realize that, at least right now, the version of me that I am feels like going with the safe options it's less anxiety provoking, and I know you'll giggle with me. You won't laugh at me, because I know that you don't laugh at me. You would giggle with me, and I thought that it would make an adorable story that we could sit and talk about how, yeah, you know what, I'm owning it, that I'm going with the safe bet. And then, you know what, See, this is how I can keep going, because then in my head I'm going, see, look how beautiful it was that I just maintained a focus of reminding him to love himself. That's most of what I've done through the separation journey in many different forms. But like, I got some advice from spirit early on to just kind of be that high priestess, that voice. Like, when you have people all your life telling you you're not fast enough, you're not man enough, you're not woman enough, you're not good enough, you talk too much or talk too long or smoke too much, all that stuff, that trains your ego. It trains your ego cockatoo into reminding you all the time how you're not good enough. And what Spirit told me was, be that voice, but be it as divine feminine, be it as the reminder that he's good as he is, that his mistakes don't define him, that old versions of him don't define him, that just because he did something in an inappropriate way this time doesn't mean that he's going to do that next time. To be that person that has faith in him healing, coming around, doing all this stuff. This is Spirit says don't reveal that yet, so there's some juiciness later that I'll reveal, but this is why I can come on here and confidently talk about this stuff, because it works, okay? And it works because it's part of who I am. I'm just letting myself, I'm already that person. I hid that part of myself, that person that's just like, I'm not unrealistic, but I'm positive. I like being that way. And I've hidden that from myself and from others for a long time, because it felt like people would look at me in a way that I sometimes would look, the way that I look at people who are fake nice. I don't want to mean that in like a judgment way, because that's their experience, but in the past I did judge it. It was like, it's one thing if you are genuinely a nice person, but that has a different feel. A genuinely nice, positive person who just has a positive attitude about it is not, there's a difference between that and someone who's fake positive. It's actually starting to come up in the positivity communities, is toxic positivity, right? So there's a difference between somebody who is like fake positive and somebody who's genuinely, that's just a part of who they are, right? I'm one of those people. I'm genuinely like that. And doesn't mean I'm kind or that I'm nice all the time. I'm always kind, but I'm not always nice. And I'm not always what other people might consider positive, because to me, positive doesn't mean always saying that's nice, or never telling people when they have a booger in their nose, or never swearing, or always being peppy in the morning. Like, to me, that's not positivity. Anyways, I know that all I've really been doing is letting myself be myself and recognizing that whole time, no matter the distractions of noise all around, no matter the amount of third parties, no matter the timing, the circumstances, that me being me, not just the positivity, because I mean, I've been my whole self with my DM. I am not, you should see some of our conversations. I will tell him who he is at each moment. not in a mean way, but like, I'm not afraid to say no. And I'm not afraid to say, hey, that's not okay. And I'm not afraid to say, you know what, I want you to do it this way, and not be attached to whether or not he does it. But like, I'm not afraid to speak my truth, and I'm not afraid to tell him when he needs to take an extra shower. You know what I mean? Those are things that he appreciates about me. Those are things he's been learning about, because he was a placater for a long time. So was I, but he was much worse about it. And he's been around people who have been placating him while he's been placating them. And he's learning about how fake that feels, right? And I know that because I am such a delightfully eccentric creature, that I decided to listen to that message in the first place about just be the high priestess who just whispers positive things and have faith that his ego mind cockatoo knows that that's what he needs and what he wants, that his 5D self will lead him there too, and that those voices, those parts of his identity will get stronger. And then just keep in mind, there's a lot of momentum. He's in his 40s, so there's a lot of old momentum of people telling him that he's not good, that he's not okay, that he's broken, of society telling him that, of him reminding himself of that, and not having anyone else around that says, no, you're great. What are you? You're not slow. You're divine timing. You're good. You know, you're doing fine. You're learning things. You know, it like, be that voice for yourself and for them. Like, because I listen to that, because I'm adorable and eccentric enough to go, I'm gonna try that. I was scared as fuck at the time, but I'm like, that feels right to me. That feels like the what a righteous person would do, a kind person. That feels like what love would do, you know? And because I'm the kind of person that would choose that, and I'm the kind of person that would do that, and that was my only agenda the whole time, he sees that and he loves that. Because everybody else wants money or status or control or power or drama or things like that. And here's me over here going, no, I'm just telling you good things about you because it makes me feel good about me first. And then it makes me feel good knowing that you're getting everything you need from such a small but big piece of me. And that there will be days coming when you will thank me for that stuff. And what's funny is it's when I stopped worrying about when he was going to thank me that he started doing that too. Like I love those moments. They pop in when I least expect them. They're pleasantly surprising moments where he'll be like, "I really appreciate that you've been telling me this whole time. And I thought it was full of shit for a while, and I thought that you were trying to trick me or lure me or do this stuff, but I realized how could you be like with I see the rest of the ways that you've been acting. How could you be? That's just you, and that's part of what I love about you, and that's part of why I enjoy these experiences, right? So what I meant to say, now that we're getting close to an hour, is that like as I go through my day, that one little thought about a picnic becomes very, very clear. And the more I release it, so every time it comes in, just like now when I'm coming back to you in the video, more times I release it, it goes out. Spirit goes, okay, she's released it. Let's go work on it. And then it brings back, like my guides bring back these little bit, like, what do you think about this? What choice would you make if this happened or that happened? And, have you done, here's some shadowy stuff. Are you still weird about that? What would you manifest instead? You know what I mean? Like it brings it back. And then I just don't, I let it flow and then I let it go. There you go. Let it flow, then let it go. That's going to be a t-shirt at some point. Somebody keep track of that for me. So the more I let it go, the more I allow myself to enjoy other things. I might talk to a friend about some business stuff. I might go for a walk. I might do some TikTok videos. I might play a new game or learn a new TikTok song with my kids or help them with homework or do different things like that. And as I'm doing that, I'm getting these feel good moments that are coming up into my head about, oh, you know what? If he would do a picnic and intentionally copy what I would do because I made fun of him for being always the safe option guy, maybe then he's going to do a series of like romantic gestures that are like not necessarily word for word what I did, but action for action. And I would, oh man, I did so many romantic things for him, and I would be delighted to have that in my memories, right? So there's another example, right? So then I might imagine what other things have I done with him, and the ones that I knew that he really loved and that would be easy to imitate, right? So then throughout the day I can have that, and that thought will persist. It will come through. It will flow through because I have no resistance to it, and I'm delighted by it, and I'm okay with whatever's going on in the 3D. This is no longer about what's going on with him in 3D. This is about I'm enjoying my relationship with myself, and I'm enjoying that I am eccentric enough that I am happy. I am fed just on the imagining of all this. I might then in the evening before bed start journaling and making lists of like all the things that I did for him. And in the past that would have been me making lists of how can I top myself? How can I do better? And then when separation journey happened, it was, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? What did I not do enough of? What didn't I listen to? These things like this. Why isn't he picking me, right? And then I took that to a place of, why am I grateful for this experience right now? Going into lists of that. And then now, after working through all of the shadow work of it, I'm in a place where this is a video I'll do for another time, but I'm going to say a short version of this before I end it. A lot of y'all have been getting the signs and syncs. You've been listening to readers who have been saying there's going to come a day when your twin is going to they're doing anything it takes. They're going to woo you, they're going to court you, they're going to pursue you, but not chase you. You don't want them to chase you. Pursuing, courting, wooing, they're going to be chivalrous with you. They're going to make up for everything. They're going to do all that stuff. And most of the time when you hear that stuff, your brain goes, shh. Like I hear, here's the thing. What's funny is us readers, we manifest it. So readers, if you know, for those of you that read cards on and do on YouTube, think about this. When you read for someone and you say they're coming in and they're going to do whatever it takes, and then you say, and for those of you who have like are like, not me, not my man, don't address those people. Just love them. Just say, you know what, I hear that thought, and I hear the reflection in me that some of my thoughts are kind of like cynical about that. But don't read like it's already a manifestation if it happens in the birthplace of creation, but you affirm and you make that a spell when you speak it. So don't speak that. Let those people be those people, right? And if you're one of those people that either you think it or you speak it or you write it, which is the third strongest manifestation, that now he wouldn't do that. He's out there being a player and doing stuff like that. Well, guess what? You're manifesting that. You're co-manifesting the continuation of that, right? So don't get out of that place. Like you want to be in a place to where you're like, you know what? The timeline version I've lined up with him right now is in adorable playerly immaturity right now, but that's okay because I know that I can be over here and I can feel it. I can feel it with my entire being that I'm aligning with the version of him that's totally ready to be romantic. That's totally ready to do things like this. And I have that feeling right now because time isn't linear and because I can give myself those feelings right now, and I know the magic of this. Whereas old versions of him, they were being playerly because they felt powerless to be able to manifest futures that felt good. And I know that he's fully capable of coming out of that and learning how to manifest. This is just where we're at right now. This is just one point in the journey. All the old momentum of other stuff is gone. Now we're in a different point. We have higher quality challenges. And I know that if I'm free of so much resistance, that I can be in a place where I can go, I give myself this feeling right now, because I know there are infinite timelines where it's already happened. It's already happening. And then I've seen it in my story, in my 3D reality, in recent stuff, so I can keep affirming myself. I don't have to phone a friend. I don't have to Google it. I don't have to check a reading. I don't have to panic and call a reader and be like, can you tell me what's going on? I can just say yes. I just had that experience. I was just a time traveler. And in multiple moments, I just went into my mind into a future moment that I don't know where it's going to be, but I know it's going to feel just as amazing as the feelings I'm having right now. Probably even more so, because you know what? When I get off this video, I'm going to completely forget about what I was thinking about until a few hours from now, when Spirit starts showing me songs about picnics, when Google picks up what I was talking about and starts showing me picnic stuff on Facebook, when I go to do DoorDash and I pass by 3 trucks that all use the word picnic or have a symbol for picnic, which Google couldn't control, so it couldn't just be that I talked about it. You know what I mean? Like, these things will come up, and I'm just going to keep affirming it and letting it go, right? So I'm going to leave this here. There's a lot of more information in this than I intended to leave, but you know what? I let Spirit lead. So if you have specific questions, or if you want to manifest a specific kind of scenario with your twin, I'd love to see you put them in the comments and let me help you get there, right? Until then, I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, subscribing. And remember, the more you interact, the more your energy gets put into the information that Spirit brings me, and the more I can bring you specific stuff that feels, like home. All right, y'all. Love you. Bye.